Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely fascinating called the input principle. I genuinely love exploring ideas that completely reframe how we see our daily lives, and this does exactly that. The core thesis we're going to unpack today is that every single reality you experience begins as an input, not an action, not a habit, an input. We're going to look really closely at how the person you are becoming is quietly, constantly being built by what you repeatedly consume.
Section 1. Your brain is always eating.
Think about this. Every single day, without fail, your brain is eating. Now, it's not eating food, obviously. It's constantly consuming information, words, and voices. It's devouring opinions and stories. Whether you actively realize it or not, your mind is always consuming something. It is always hungry, and it is always being fed. And this brings up a really strange contradiction in how we live. Think about feeding the body. Most of us spend absolutely years of our lives carefully choosing what we feed our physical bodies, right? We read nutrition labels, we meal prep, we count macros, we go way out of our way to eat clean. But then look at feeding the mind. We pay almost zero attention to what we feed our minds. We just let our mental diet run entirely on autopilot, sort of grazing on whatever happens to be put in front of us. When you actually list out what makes up that mental diet, it is a rapid-fire stream of inputs. You've got music, the friends you hang out with, your parents, your social media feeds, explainers like this one, books, the daily news. But it also includes all the internal stuff, your self-talk, gratitude, prayer, and affirmations. On the surface, these might seem like totally different categories of life, but according to the source material, they're fundamentally the exact same thing. They are all inputs. Which brings us to this incredibly profound realization. Every reality begins as an input. Because if you really think about it, nothing appears in your mind without entering it first. Just think about how deeply that shifts our perspective. Your future isn't just being built by the physical things you do or the actions you take out in the world. It is quietly, subtly being constructed by what you repeatedly consume on a daily basis. Section 2. The reality domino effect. To really grasp the mechanics of how this works, don't think of it as some dry lecture. Think of it like a perfectly aligned row of falling dominoes. Once that first piece gets knocked over, an inevitable chain reaction kicks off. This is literally the cinematic chain reaction of your life. It starts with step 1, inputs. Every book, conversation, and song is an input. Now, not every single thought sticks, but the repeated thoughts, that's step 2. Those repeated thoughts begin creating emotions, step 3, because your body naturally responds to whatever your mind keeps rehearsing. Step 4, those emotions quietly drive your decisions and your actions. Step 5, decisions, when repeated often enough, morph into habits. And finally, step 6, habits slowly forge your identity, and your identity creates the life people eventually look back on and call your reality or your destiny. But remember, that life didn't start with an action. It started way back at step 1, with what actually entered your mind. Section 3. The Great Paradigm Shift. Once you actually see that domino effect in motion, it triggers a massive aha moment. It's a complete flip from the standard self-help advice we're all so used to hearing, which almost exclusively obsesses over changing our outputs and our actions. Most people are constantly asking themselves the old question, what should I do to become successful? Or what should I do to change my life? It's totally action-focused. It's basically looking at step 4 or 5 of that domino chain and trying to force a change right in the middle of the sequence. But the source material suggests that maybe, just maybe, this is the completely wrong question to be asking. So here is the new question. What am I consuming every day that's creating the person who will either become successful or not? This is a massive why before how moment. Before you figure out how to change your actions, you've got to look at why you're taking them in the first place, which traces all the way back to your inputs. This entirely changes the paradigm of personal growth from forcing action to curating consumption. Section 4. Affirmations are deliberate inputs. You know, people so often misunderstand affirmations. They think they're these magic words that just instantly bend reality. But the source strips away that magic stigma completely. Affirmations are simply deliberate inputs. They are a conscious decision to place one more healthy voice into a mind that is already being programmed every second of every day. Because here's the undeniable truth. If you don't choose your inputs, the world is going to happily choose them for you. Advertisements will choose them, algorithms will choose them, fear, negativity, and other people's opinions will choose them. Affirmations aren't about denying reality, they're a necessary defense mechanism. They're about you choosing which voice deserves to be repeated often enough to become part of who you are. And this number brilliantly illustrates how the math of this actually works. 1,000. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and before you even touch your phone, before the news or social media dictates what you should fear today, you tell your own mind what matters. You do this not because the words are magical, but because you are casting one vote for the person you are becoming. Sure, a single vote or a single affirmation might not mean much on its own, but 1,000 daily votes, 1,000 deliberate inputs, that compounds into an entirely new identity.
Section 5, becoming the editor.
To truly take the reins on this process, we actually need to glance back at our past for a second to understand how our very first dominoes were set up. Think about the first few years of your life. You had a ton of unchosen childhood inputs. You didn't pick the voices of your parents, your early teachers, your childhood friends, the TV shows playing in the background, or your general environment. Someone else chose those inputs, and those outside voices eventually settled right into your mind and became many of your baseline foundational beliefs about the world and about yourself. But today, right now, as an adult, something profound has changed. For the first time, you get to become the editor. You're no longer just a passive receiver of whatever environment you happen to be placed in. You are sitting right at the editing desk of your own mind. You choose what stays, you choose what goes. You choose exactly which voice gets to become your own. It is an incredibly empowering realization when it clicks that you actually have editorial control over your mental diet.
Section 6, choosing your own reality.
As we wrap up this explainer, let's bring all those falling dominoes back together for one final cohesive picture of how you construct your life. The source material summarizes the entire philosophy with this quote: "Change the input, and eventually the story changes too." I want you to just let the immense weight of that simple truth settle in for a second. If your mind is always listening, and every word becomes a thought, and every thought teaches an emotion, which influences a choice, which builds a habit, which creates an identity, well then the only logical place to actually change your story is right at the very beginning, with the input. So I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Perhaps the most important question isn't what kind of life do I want? Maybe the only question that truly matters right now is this: what am I feeding the mind that's going to create my reality?